I started questioning gender-based assumptions a long time ago. When I was 8, I was confused being called bossy because I wanted to direct the plays that we would put on for our parents, but the boys were not. When at 14, I started to be sexualized by certain elements of the media. When at 15, my girlfriends started dropping out of their beloved sports teams because they didn't want to appear muscly. When at 18, my male friends were unable to express their feelings. I decided that I was a feminist, and this seemed uncomplicated to me. But my recent research has shown me that feminism has become an unpopular word.
Well, it really means to me that women are the potential intellectual and social equals to men in all aspects, and I really feel that it is sort of misattributed to being a girls-only club, when really it is represented by all members of the gender spectrum.
Feminism to me is equality for all genders, all races, and all classes.
Feminism is equality for both men and women.
Feminism to me means equality for all genders and being able to recognize that there is a preferred gender and that one gender is indeed oppressed.
Well, it has really shown me how all kinds of people can be really sort of influential on their own right. People like Sally Ride, who has contributed tons and tons to the scientific community, as well as to the benefit of young people who might not have thought about joining the scientific community without her.
Feminism has impacted my life in multiple ways, as I could vote for Obama when I turned 18. I got to go into higher education after high school and go to CCRI.
I can't say feminism has really impacted my life too much, since the world I've grown up in has had better rights for women than my grandparents and anyone older than that. But most of the things you hear about feminism are very biased, either towards it or against it, but they're usually against it.
Feminism impacted my life by showing me that I'm able to do more than what I originally had thought, and fighting for this movement has just given me a better sense of empowerment.
Extremist feminists have really created a sort of toxic community that's very insular and really negates any sort of progress from happening, because in their radical fervor, they've created a sort of gate to entering a feminist community. And they do this through a multitude of ways by, negating the idea of gender while enforcing strict gender rules based on arbitrary biological features.
Extremists make a lot of uneducated people hate the feminist movement because of all of the dramatic things that they do, and they make it seem like it's all about women when it's really not. I know a lot of people that cringe at the word feminist because of how these people make the movement feel, which is unfortunate.
I think extremists really make uneducated people not take feminism as serious as it is. I think that when an extremist talks to an uneducated person and informs them what they know, that they miss a really good opportunity to get knowledge about this movement. And it's just really sad for me because it's really hard because of extremists to have people take feminism as serious as it is.
The movement that is most important to me right now would have to be reproductive freedom.
I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body.
Because if I would want to have a baby or have an abortion, I should be the one that should have to make the choice. And it's very important to me because abortion should be a personal decision or a conversation between loved ones or a primary care doctor, not a legal debate.
The current feminist movement that means the most to me is being able to get education for all girls, because to not let a girl have not be able to have an education just because they are girls is, well, ridiculous, because we're all human, we all learn the same, we all deserve an opportunity to become educated, because that's one of the most important things that a person can have is education.
Definitely the sort of movement towards accepting the LGBT community as not only a member of the feminist community, but a large proponent of that community. And what I mean when I say that is it's no longer the white middle class woman whose experience is the only one that matters. It expands to transgender women, lesbian women, women of color, women who are sex workers, and it really just creates a more healthy environment for all people.
I know that first wave feminism, there was a push by very educated women, very classy women, to get votes for women so that they could have a say in political elections. And it did not work at first. They were offered little by little votes, but eventually it got to the point where a woman could vote the same way as a man could.
I know that the first wave started in the 19th and early 20th century, and it focused on legal issues such as the right to vote, and that it was mainly oriented around middle and upper class white, straight, cis women.
First wave feminism was late 1800s, ended around 1920s, and that was the right to get opportunity to vote and equality with making government choices.
First wave feminism is the early 20th century movement towards women's suffrage. It's where you get women like Susan B. Anthony, who are really icons in the American mythology.
Second wave feminism was another big push towards fighting the really conservative way of thought and changing to be more modern, and I knew that there was a lot of resistance to it, but eventually they overcame that resistance, the feminist movement did, and they improved everything to the way it is now.
I know that it began around the 1960s, and it mainly focused on dismantling workplace and schooling inequality.
Second wave was around 1960s, and it dealt with abortion and sexuality, and realizing like beauty pageants and stuff like that isn't really that great.
What if women had true equality? Would there be war and conflict, hunger, poverty? What if women had true equality? Would there be domestic violence in the family? How did we become without a voice? How long have men had their way? What can we do to reverse our fate? It's never too late. Why don't women have true equality? We let men dominate us throughout history. Why don't women have true equality? We let men make decisions for society. We have rights as human beings. We're no longer property. We are capable of being anything we want to be. We who are women have beauty.
Second wave feminism is the rather closed-minded and irresponsible wave of feminism, where it was represented mostly by middle-class white women who dictated whether or not your experiences made you a true woman or a true feminist. It really excluded people who are, first of all, men, or people who are not they're in the sexual minority, or they work as sex workers on the streets or on pornography. And by doing that, you're really creating this sort of strange puritanical ideal of what it means to be a woman, and really negating the idea of sexual identity as a woman.
I was appointed as Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women 6 months ago. And the more I've spoken about feminism, the more I have realized that fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating. If there is one thing I know for certain, it is that this has to stop. For the record, feminism, by definition, is the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. It is the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes.
It was really challenging. I think it's more legislation issues, and everything that's really being made just needs to go back to the drawing board, and you need to start changing things and taking out gender and sex stereotypes, not stereotypes, but labels through documents.
Third wave is very necessary to me because we have come a long way, but I feel like there's a lot of things that we can improve on. I like that the third wave is being more inclusive with the LGBT community and people of color.
My skeleton will always speak first. To be a girl whose struggle could never be polite is to be the girl who is pulling at the zipper of a dress that will never fit her.
Because it wasn't made for her.
It's time we sewed our own. Feminism isn't just for white women anymore.
And it never was. It's wearing different dresses cut from the same cloth.
Drinking the same tea.
Digesting it differently.
Trading honey for honesty.
Feminism is the four of us in this moment reading this poem. Even when we disagree,
we are burning the table.
Building a new one.
No one is invited because everyone is already here.
I think third wave feminism is very necessary because with our society and how it moves, new issues have arisen, and with those issues we need to keep fighting because in another 50, 100 years more issues are going to come up, and then there's going to be fourth and fifth wave, and they're going to be necessary too for our fight.
I definitely think third wave feminism is important and necessary. It really shows how we as Americans need to understand how we treat other people unconsciously. And I say that because in the media we're shown these sort of hypersexualized women who are basically there just to attract the eye of a man. There is it's a character archetype called the midriff, And the midriff is a very prematurely adult sort of young lady. She's a teenager, generally, who is very sexual and uses her body as her only asset. And not only does this send a message to women that they don't have a intellectual possibility for them, but it also shows men that women need to be sexual in order to be helpful to society, and that all women need to act that way. And it really leads to an unhealthy sort of idea of what a woman is in our society now.
Women are choosing not to identify as feminist. Apparently, I am among the ranks of women whose expressions are seen as too strong, too aggressive, isolating, and anti-men, unattractive even. Why has the word become such an uncomfortable one?
Third wave feminism, I hear a lot about from different media sources, and I cannot draw any conclusions on it because everything I hear is heavily laden with over-fantasized facts and statistics that are probably baloney. So I think most of the things they're fighting for are very right and just, but there's some things that are being tacked on to the movement that I don't think they have any involvement with at all.
Third wave talks more about being inclusive of all genders in the spectrum and races. This wave is trying to make it known that it's not just for straight white cis women. One thing that I love about the third wave is that it's including men more, and it's bringing up the fact that sexual assault and domestic violence is a thing towards men, and it's an issue just as it is with women. I also really like that it's challenging gender norms, and it's making feminism not so cookie cutter, as in like you have to not wear makeup and you have to not shave or you're not a good feminist. But now people, they have their winged eyeliner and their red lipstick, and they're just as much as a feminist as somebody that doesn't shave and wears no makeup.
Third wave feminism, which is right now, has to deal with women being proud of their bodies and being more empowered by it instead of shielding them and hiding them. So it's more of like free the nipple because it's the same as men's, so why hide it?
Third wave feminism is the most really progressive in terms of how women are being treated in the everyday rather than on the civil liberties side. It really kind of attacks how women have been portrayed in media while also allowing for a more open and frank discussion on sexuality and gender identity along the entire spectrum.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Leah, for having me.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Oh my god. Was that okay?
Yeah. Thank you, Fluffy.
You're welcome, Leah.
That's it.